Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 9 of the Legends and Dragons podcast. Chance Burleson.
Jimmy Klaus.
So this is take 2. I just want everyone to know. Is my mic on? Yeah, it's on. I just want everyone to know that yesterday when we recorded was probably the best.
It was the best podcast ever.
I mean, in the history of podcasts.
There were angels.
Off
camera.
Off camera.
But trumpeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great.
Screaming Hosanna.
You ever watch that movie Angels in the Outfield?
Yep.
Like way back in the day.
Yep.
That's what was going on back.
Yep.
We were getting massaged by the Angels in the Outfield. It was absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Hey, we are broadcasting from the Legends Lair here in Hurst, Texas.
We are.
And I wanted to bring a complaint that I have against
a grievance,
if you will. So Shane Bingham, shout out to you for being in the audience last week and laughing at my jokes. And so I found a workaround since we don't have a live audience here yet. We maybe one day we will. But Chance Burleson, I want to tell you a joke. And I want you to, either laugh or not laugh. It doesn't matter if you laugh, but here we go. A pirate walks into a bar. Has a parrot on his shoulder. He has a wooden leg. And he has a steering wheel on his belt buckle.
Okay.
The ship steering wheel, by the way.
Not like Honda.
Not like a
right.
car steering wheel.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, the bartender looks over to the pirate and goes, "Hey, you have a steering wheel on your belt buckle."
Right.
And the pirate goes, "Arr, I know, it's driving me nuts."
So the thing is, the laugh track is what's funny. That's
I will.
That is you hedging your bets.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
from now on,
that's what got me.
Is that what you got? Joke? Oh man, see, we did. I thought I was a banger, by the way, absolute banger. Chance, let me ask you a question.
Ask me.
You were born in the womb to now.
The womb.
You have been in martial arts.
I have.
Has this been your only job?
No. My very first job, obviously with the exception of chores and like my dad used to make me move bricks from one part of the yard to the other part of the yard, just to understand work ethic.
Right.
So my first job was teaching day classes in the summer when I was 15, which is like, 36, 37 years ago, right? But when I turned 16, my dad told me that I had to go get an actual job, like the kind of job that you got if you couldn't teach martial arts. So there was this German restaurant that I had grown up going to our whole life.
Local?
Yes, it was on the Weatherford Traffic Circle. It was called Edelweiss. And my dad knew the owner real well.
Okay.
The owner, it was probably the closest to what we have here at Legends, which the owner owned it, but he was in there every night and he was singing traditional German, like in Lederhosen,
Did he wear the costume?
Yeah. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this guy was the nicest guy. He was so cool. He would pick me up and hug me and kiss me on the cheek when I was a little boy. He was like, "You're going to go work for Bernd Schnauzlinger." And I was like, that'll be great because he loves me.
Yeah.
He did not love me at all when I was on payroll. Like it was like such a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
Like, you're a lazy boy, you must work harder. I'd tell your daddy he'll be so disappointed in you. You're not. I had like 2 tubs of dirty dishes. You know what I mean?
Work faster, work harder.
Dude, he was an absolute. Obviously, I'm watching my words very carefully. Yeah. He was an absolute drill sergeant. He was a drill sergeant.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because my dad wanted me to know that's what was available to me.
Right.
If I wasn't grateful for teaching martial arts. And I got real grateful real fast.
Yeah. Was it the summer? Did you spend how many months?
It was like 6 months.
6 months doing that job? And you were like, nah, I'm going to go back to teaching martial arts.
Yeah.
So
what about you?
So when I was 15 and a half, I got my driver's license because in Virginia, you can get your license, I believe, someone could probably fact check me later, as long as you had a job. So you drive back and forth to the job. So 15 and a half, applied to become a lifeguard growing up in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. So I was also on the swim team in high school. So I was like, oh man, lifeguard, easy. Pass the test easy. I had to hold the brakes, tread water, do all sorts of stuff, get out of, make a flotation device out of your clothes and all that other fun stuff. Of course, learning CPR and whatnot. So my very first job, I was given an apartment complex pool. And in the apartment complex pool, there was, of course, the pool, but then there had like a kiddie pool. Probably, just a little bit bigger than this table. Probably 2 of these tables. The water it wasn't very high, maybe 6 inches, maybe 6-8 inches, not that deep at all. So people can bring their kids with their diapers or whatever, make a mess over there. That wasn't my responsibility.
Sure,
that was the parents' responsibility. Right. And so it was fenced off. And so one day as I'm doing my scan, I'm there being all cool, have my little whistle, my glasses, looking at the pool, and I just so happened to scan over there at the baby pool, because I knew that there was a lady there. She was the babysitter. So she had a kid over there. But when I turned around, the kid was face down in this water. Face down, not moving. Right? So panic, if you will.
Sure,
so I blow the whistle, get all the kids and the adults out of the main pool. I jumped the fence because they had the entry. It was quicker for me to jump the fence. I don't even know why I jumped the fence, but I jumped the fence. Got the baby. The baby was unresponsive. And so as I have the baby in my hand, I'm trying to either pat the back of the baby's back, try to, check for pulse or anything. So I flip the baby around, and now I'm doing CPR on this 8-month-old. And as I'm between breaths, I tell the lady there, actually not the lady, but the other lady she was talking to call 911 and tell me after she's done it. Right? This wasn't the land of cell phones at the time.
Sure.
So she had to run into the department, call 911. I'm over here breathing, my mouth is covering the nose and the mouth of the baby. The baby starts coughing, breath, breathing. EMTs arrive. They take the baby from me. The babysitter's all panicky. And I'm shaking from adrenaline. And so at that time, the company of the lifeguard, the company that I was working for, said, if there's anything traumatic like that during the time, you can close the pool early, your discretion, and you get paid for the full day. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. 16-year-old Jimmy. Yeah, but that didn't really, I was getting paid, and I tried not to. Yeah, I hardly tell this story because Miriam, my wife, of course, she tells this story sometimes, but. So I closed the pool early because I'm like, man, $7.50 an hour.
Yeah.
For 8, dude, I'm out of here.
Right.
I'm still getting paid.
Right.
So hop in my dad's 2-tone color van. It was the brown, of course, the light brown and the dark brown. Yeah. So driving home, and I pull up. So before my neighborhood, there's like an overpass and then train tracks underneath, and so I'm stuck in traffic. And I'm like, man, I'm never stuck in traffic on here. I normally can just whip into my neighborhood. But as I'm there, we're stuck in traffic. I see this gentleman. He's walking on the sidewalk to go opposite direction, go down. Well, all of a sudden I'm hearing this bang, crunch, bang, bang. And I look and I see this car driving on the sidewalk, crunching all these cars. The gentleman, he has to jump onto the overpass, railing. He sits back. If he flew back any further, he would have fallen off and died. But the car happened to just crunch my van and just leave the space to where he wasn't injured. And I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like,
you just saved the baby.
Yeah. Well, that's not through my head. I was thinking I had the time off now. I'm like, man, time off. I could just hang out with my friends. Whatever.
Pool's closed.
Well, yes, exactly. I could go to the beach.
Right.
Anyways, so this car gets pinned underneath this work truck. like trailer or whatever else. And so I'm looking at the guy that just jumped to save his life, and he's grabbing his chest like, "Ooh, that was close." I'm like, "Yeah." So I get out of the van and I look, and man, that whole side is crunched. I was like, "Man, how am I going to explain this
Well, right.
to my dad?"
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, so there's a crowd forming around the car. It was an old lady who got disoriented. Now she's pinned underneath there. The car's pinned, but no one is helping this lady at all, at all. And so I go and I open the door and I'm smelling gas.
Sure,
and
sure.
So, I hurry up and I turn off the car and I get her out and she's in shock. And I ask the Domino's delivery guy that's there if he has any empty, he has all those empty boxes, stuff, whatever. We get her elevated. And so cops and the ambulance come and they get all the cars that have been just demolished by
Yeah,
this,
yeah, yeah.
by this car. And there were some BMWs that were being
Oh yeah, of course.
delivered
Right.
to individuals that just got absolutely
Right.
I'm like, man, I'm not ever going to see any insurance money here. So
Right.
anyway, so I call my mom. So we get into the parking lot, get a payphone, call my mom. My mom, it's just not even 5 minutes. So she's there. She's asking me, she goes, what are you doing home? Why are you home early?
Right.
So I'm explaining to my mom, like, listen, that I had to do CPR on an 8-month-old. Now I'm here and, got this lady out. And so a news reporter for Virginia Pilot newspaper there was like, hey, that's amazing. I would really like to get your information and, tell the story. And my mom looked at me and I remember going, I just want to take a nap. I just want to go home. I was tired, babe.
Yeah.
But anyways, all that to say, because I'm going to ask a question here about medically, like what is our responsibility as martial artists and teachers. But you were talking about the German restaurant, and I remember that when I was in Oklahoma City for training at the German restaurant, I was there with my air traffic control classmates. We were there as a class, and Miriam's there, and all the commotion. And here comes this guy, this older gentleman is choking, and so everybody stops. The whole restaurant goes quiet, and I'm still eating because I'm like, no, I want no part of this, right? I mean, they got their help going on, and Miriam.
And you've saved a baby.
Well, but I say yes. Oh, and I'll tell you another story that I didn't share with you yesterday. But Miriam goes, babe, you got to go over there and see what's going on. I'm like, so I get up, and the son or whoever, he's probably the older is a grandpa, and so his son or whoever they're trying to give the Heimlich maneuver, which, by the way, the Heimlich maneuver has been debunked a little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
That's why I don't do it anymore.
I used to call it the Heimlich, by the way, because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I tell the guy, I'm like, listen, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it forcefully enough. He's like, well, do you know how to do it? I'm like, well, yeah. And so, I'm doing the Heimlich maneuver and got old man drool all over me. And he finally just gulps all that steak or whatever the heck he couldn't chew down and, get all the applause. Yay. He gets out. I go to the bathroom. Of course, all my classmates are there like, hey, man, excellent job. Excellent job. I go to the bathroom and just washing myself with the old man drool because it's, man, I'm like, oh, man. And I'm shaking still from the adrenaline rush and trying to calm myself down and, act like everything is all cool. Like, oh, it's okay. And anyways, but here's the thing, though. If, let's say, for instance, something happened here and I gave CPR here, would you offer me like a t-shirt or something? Would you like, hey, man, thanks for your help?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Well, that's good because that German restaurant didn't even pay for my meal or give my table free drinks.
And what is the irony of doing the Heimlich in a German restaurant?
It's phenomenal.
Uncanny.
Yeah.
So do you think, all right, so here's a question.
Okay.
Do you think as martial artists who, we spend a great deal of time learning how to damage, restrain, dismantle, whatever, an attacker.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a responsibility or a role, or do you think we should be medically trained? Obviously CPR, yes, but
like given like the tourniquet,
like triage,
stitching.
like battle triage. What do you think about that?
My opinion is, I think that we have some responsibility, absolutely, to learn it. I mean, not just as martial artists. I think everyone should learn at least some sort of first aid because, even for me going through scouts and working towards my Eagle Scout, I had first aid training, I had emergency preparedness training, so I was familiar with all this stuff. And going through ROTC or junior ROTC in high school, so I, excuse me, so I knew some of the methods, right?
Mhm.
But I think as martial artists, that here's something that I was taught by you, but also by our friend Master Rodriguez, Mikey Rodriguez. When I was working towards my black belt, he said two things. If I were to ever get into a fight, of course, as an adult, there are two things that I need to be prepared for. One, go into jail, or two, death.
Mhm.
So that's stuck with me. I'm like, what does he mean? So if you and I got into a fight, and you didn't know any martial arts, and I punched you, and then you fell back and you hit your head, and then now you're knocked out, right? Now I'm going to jail, right? I'm probably going to jail. I'm either getting sued, I'm going to court. But I think that as a martial artist, learning other jujitsu, how to restrain, I think that, in my opinion, then yes, I should have some sort of medical first aid knowledge to help an individual. Of course, we're taught martial arts not to fight, but how to avoid a fight.
So have you ever heard of Stop the Bleed?
I have not.
It's stopthebleed.com. So what it is that it was probably put out, because of the number of active shooters and situations like that.
Yeah.
Basically large scale death and an injury. And so, do you know what the key to comedy is? Timing.
Absolutely.
So the key to saving a life or ending a life is also timing. So the faster that obviously the medics arrive, the greater the likelihood that somebody will live. And so what they found is that kind of that battle first aid triage of stemming the blood flow,
Right.
etc., until the paramedics get there, obviously increases the likelihood that somebody lives. Right? So I absolutely think that anybody trained, here's the thing. That's me saying anybody trained in martial arts should also be trained in first aid and CPR.
Sure.
Okay, of course.
We could say that, yes.
But what I'm also going to say is I also believe everyone should be trained in martial arts.
Right.
I think the more blanket statement is that every human animal on the planet should be trained on how to injure, maim, restrain, kill.
Right.
And then also how to save. Right?
Right.
Do you know who the most effective killers on the planet would be?
No.
Doctors.
No. That makes sense.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The more you know about saving a life, the more aware you are of how quickly you can end and what part of the body and how to injure it. So here's the thing. Even if first aid and life-saving thing, let's say you're such a dark, morbid person that you're like, well, I'm not interested in that. I just want to learn how. Well, then learning first aid and battle triage would also make you a more effective fighter. Like, for instance, I hit fairly hard.
Yes, I know this.
Okay? And if I hit you super hard in the abdominal muscle, right around your belly button,
right? Yeah,
I would not be able to cause even remotely the amount of damage that I could if I threw a punch of a quarter of that power to your jaw.
Right.
The knowledge of the human body,
right?
I don't think you can unweave those two things. I think that healing and hurting are actually two sides of the exact same coin.
Well, it's like when we learn, I mean, of course, jaw, you just said jaw, solar plex.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to aim for the stomach or the belly.
Right.
I'm aiming right here for the solar plex.
You need a knowledge of the human body to do that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Doctors would, like Dexter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was he a doctor there?
He's a detective. I've never seen the show.
You never seen the show?
One time.
I've seen it. Yeah. Well, there you go. I use what or Kevorkian.
I know the
Dr.
Cliff Notes. I mean, he killed people,
What?
but he was a good guy. No. It was I think he only killed bad people.
Ooh, so here we go. I know that we talked about superheroes, right?
Yes.
So at work, I had a supervisor that said to me, "You need to stop bullying bullies." I said, "Wait a minute. If I bully a bully,
That cancels each other out.
that makes me a superhero,
Yeah, that's like driving the Ferrari
But-
home in reverse.
yeah.
It takes the miles off.
right?"
Yeah.
but like it's like Superman, right?
Yeah.
Superman bullied bullies.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
no one ever said that he was a bully.
So you're basically Superman.
Ooh, I wouldn't say
Okay,
Superman.
so
I wouldn't say
discussing all of this,
Superman. Yeah.
maiming, injuring, injure, death, kill, saving people.
Yeah.
It was murder, death, kill. It was murder, death,
Murder, death,
Yeah,
kill.
yeah.
Okay.
So, talking about all this.
Yeah.
De-escalation. How does this factor in? What are your thoughts on, because again, we spend a great deal of our time learning how to fight and
Right.
learning how to defend ourselves. What are your thoughts on de-escalation?
I am a big proponent on that should be everyone's number one skill. De-escalation. When I teach adults or even kids, I tell them number one thing is to not fight. I don't care what that looks like. I don't care if you have to run. I don't care if you have to use your words. I don't care if you have to say buy your way out. Like, hey man, let me buy you a drink. Let me buy you dinner. Anything to avoid a fight, that should be our number one skill. I learned at a very young age that I could use humor with my laugh track, because apparently I'm not going to. I could use humor to de-escalate a situation, and that's what I did. Right? Even today,
Yeah.
when there is something at work, I turn all the attention on me because I don't care. Like it's like the common enemy, right? Or the common chew toy, as I say on the mat. It's like, hey, I'm everyone's favorite chew toy because they beat me up, right? Anything to deflect or diffuse a situation, I'm key for it. Like that's how now I've never been into a fight. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager. As an adult, I've just always, just de-escalated by basically humor, or as my blind master has said, our friend, I have a very pick-onable face, he says. But he's blind.
Yeah. Did I? Yeah. But you must really then. Did I ever tell you about almost losing my V card?
No.
Okay. So now obviously I have 2 children, so I don't have a real V card.
Right.
But what I call my V card is in 51 and a half years of being alive.
Yeah.
I have never once been in a situation where I had to ball up my fist or kick to where I've actually had to hit someone to injure them and hurt them. Now,
so the mystique, because people look
I'm
at
sure,
Chance Burleson.
Chance
Burleson's probably got into so many fights.
I love it when people say, "Oh, don't mess with Chance." I'm like, dude, I am the safest person. Like the only safer person to mess with than me is a mannequin.
Okay.
I mean, but I won't fight you.
Challenge accepted.
Like
I'm gonna bring a mannequin.
I won't fight.
Right.
I just won't do it.
So in 51 years, you've never gotten.
No. I've been in a couple of scuffles, but nothing where I had to hit someone.
Right. So you restrained.
I choked a couple of people out, put some people in some wrist locks.
Sure.
Like that's it,
Right.
And then I made them my friend afterwards.
Ooh.
Right.
You tell. But let me say, so 51 years.
51 years.
Okay.
But I almost lost my V card about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So, you want to hear the story?
I want to hear the story.
All right. So, it's a true story. All my stories are true. So, about 10 years ago, it's basically my 3rd divorce.
Okay.
By the way, I'm available for marriage counseling.
So you're so you're a marriage expert as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just don't do anything I do. So, my 3rd divorce. I just promoted a big karate tournament, big 2-day karate tournament,
Okay.
and I was driving up to Wisconsin to see my daughter the next day.
Okay.
I hadn't slept in 48 hours or so.
Yeah. So
Because running tournaments, it was just this all day, all night thing.
Right.
You know, I'm delirious. I'm exhausted. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm driving home, and I'm going down 730 right by my house, and there's nothing. There's crickets. There's nothing on the road. It's like a zombie apocalypse. There's nobody anywhere, right? And so I whip in through the exit at the racetrack gas station by my house,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. 2:00 in the morning or so.
There's nobody there.
Right.
Right? It's like I Am Legend. Like there's nobody there, right? And
Yeah.
without the dogs.
Without the dog.
yeah.
Okay. And the mannequins again.
Right.
Okay.
So I whip in, I get in, and I go in to get whatever I was getting. And I'm looking down at the ground. I'm just beat, man. I'm just dead on my feet.
Yeah.
And this voice said, I saw you whip in the parking lot like that. Pretty expletive, irresponsible, and
Ooh.
stupid, don't you think? And I'm like, well, surely he's talking to somebody else. you know?
Surely.
So I look up and he's staring at me,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And his back's to me, and he just turned and looked over his shoulder. I was like, excuse me? He's like, you could have hit a kid on a bicycle. I'm like, it's 2:00 in the morning, man.
Yeah. Was it the racetrack owner?
No, he was behind he was not behind the counter.
So it
he
was just some
a
dude,
customer.
some customer.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was like, and so this is where I obviously went wrong. I was like, what?
Ooh.
And I don't do that. I don't do
Yeah.
that, right?
So
that was my first mistake.
Okay. So
Right?
you met his energy, if
Yes.
you will.
He said, you wait for me outside. So if I had had my wits about me, I would have gone outside,
Mhm.
got in my car and left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what he was doing, but he was still,
Yeah.
and
So you waited. So you went outside.
I went outside and
waited.
got in my car. I left the door open, and I'm sitting there. My heart's just slamming against the side of my rib
yes.
cage, and all I
Yes.
can think of is, 40 years. I've never hit anybody. I'm about to lose my V card
Oh, here
over
we
some
go.
guy. Yeah, I'm about to lose it, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud, fiercely proud of the fact that I've never had to hit someone.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I've hit a lot of people. I should be clear about that. Like on a daily basis.
Yes, I'm one of those.
I've just never had to outside of here,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So
Great disclaimer.
yeah. So I'm sitting there, and then he walks outside, and I jump out of my car, and I walk up to him, and something happens to me.
Okay.
And I put my hand out, and I said, "Sir, I apologize. I was out of line. That
Yeah.
was irresponsible the way that I whipped in the parking lot like that. Forgive me for speaking to you that way." And he looks at me and he goes, I've had a long day too. I was probably out of line. I probably came off too strong.
Okay.
I apologize too. We shook hands and left. And before we left, I looked down, and for the first time I saw on his hip a badge and a gun.
No.
It's an off-duty cop.
Oh, you had no idea.
No idea. Right? Now,
Oh.
A,
Yeah.
he kills me.
Yeah.
B, I beat up a cop
Yeah.
and I go to jail.
Yeah.
And so that really reinforced this concept of violence is not the answer ever
Yeah.
until it's the only answer.
Oh,
So here is,
yes,
so
yes.
y'all, I'm the cooler, you're the bouncer.
Yeah.
How will we know when it's time to not be nice? You won't. I'll tell you. So I have discovered when violence is the answer. Do
Okay.
you know when it is? It's super easy.
No, I know when it. I mean, I haven't.
When it has already begun. It's
Violence is
the
the answer.
only answer when it has already started,
Yeah.
despite your best efforts to stop it from happening. Perfect example is
Yeah.
you're trying to talk it down and the punch is thrown. Like it's left.
Yeah,
Like the
so-
ball has left the hand,
Yeah.
right? There's a kid getting pulled in a van.
Yeah.
Like violence has already begun,
Right.
and therefore the only answer to that is violence.
Yeah, the scenarios change. Yeah.
Here's how you know, and I'm speaking to all of you. I'm speaking to all of you right now, unapologetically. If violence has begun because your dander is up and they have impugned your family honor and they have said something that upset you, and you felt like because they made you mad, you had to hit them,
Oof.
you are a child. You're a child.
Mm.
A mighty person is
Yeah.
someone who controls their emotions.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So if they left you no choice but to hit them
Right.
because they were capable of owning your butt by making you mad, and then you had to hit them because you're mad,
Because of words.
you have already lost.
Yeah.
You have lost because you lost control. And the thing is,
Yeah.
99% of these street fights and fights, they don't have to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Communication has broken down.
Right.
Violence is the language of someone who refuses to communicate.
Which is why, obviously, when you said,
No, here,
when you
show
said-
me. Let's do
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
Let's
when
do
you,
it.
when you said,
All right. What's your response to this?
"Ooh, yeah, now
Okay.
we're up," yeah,
What's your response to this? All right, get your hands up and threaten me.
yeah,
What? Oh, I don't want him to hit me. I get hit every day.
right,
This doesn't
So-
scare me.
yeah. So if I go,
Good. But who is a mighty person is someone who can make friends of their enemies.
yes,
And here's the thing. If you're really interested in self-defense, I don't know if you have the internet, but people don't take a butt whipping
Yeah.
laying down anymore.
right,
They
Yeah.
will wait for 20 years
Oof, yeah.
hiding behind a bush with a baseball bat. They will hurt your children. They will hurt your family.
right,
It is not worth it to
Right.
beat somebody up. Well, if somebody pulls a gun on me, I'll kill them. Well, you think they
Yeah.
have no family or kids?
right,
Now you have an ISIS member with your face on their
Right.
wall.
yeah,
Do you see
That's
what I'm
true.
saying?
No,
Like
absolutely.
the consequences, the ripple effect of violence, Jimmy,
yeah,
is indescribable. But if I make peace with you,
right.
do you remember that scene in what was it with Adam Sandler where he goes back to school?
Oh, Billy Madison.
Billy Madison.
Yeah.
And he called Steve Buscemi, which was a kid he used to, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, he used to bully him. It's like, he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I haven't thought about it in years. Crosses his name off list of people to kill.
Yeah.
Like, if you're truly interested in self-defense,
Yeah.
lessen the number of people who would like to punch you in the face. Do you know the best
Yeah.
defense against getting punched in the face?
Not to get punched in the face.
No, don't act like somebody who should get punched in the face.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, let me tell you a story. Speaking of Billy Madison, so when I was going through my high school years, we've already talked about the abuse and everything else, right? My home life situation. Go back in the couple episodes, you can hear about it. there was this guy that when social media, when MySpace, and when Facebook got started ramping up, I saw hey, recommended friends or whatever else. So I added this guy. John Casper, by the way, if you're listening. So I reached out to him and I apologized years later for bullying him, if you will. I remember it was over some girl, I think, and I pushed him into a locker.
Sure.
He was like a year younger than me.
Like you do.
You're right. And so, but I reached out to him and I apologized to him. And so his wife actually wrote about that in a book, about me calling and apologizing and asking for forgiveness because of finding faith and he heard my testimony because it was online, and so he had no idea like the stuff that I was going through at home. And so he just thought I was just in school as some bully, so he had no idea. So it is very important. Words, forgiveness. There's some big boy words, if you will, big boy and girl words. But let me ask you this though, because we've talked about, of course, murder, death, punching, all this other stuff. But being controlled and dangerous. Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching his reels. I love listening to him. He mentioned something that I talked to my son and daughter, Journey in Town, about was being a monster. Like, you have to learn to be a monster, but a controlled monster. And so what I told them was be a monster with your studies, be a monster in the classroom, be a monster on the mats, be a monster on the basketball court. Learn to be that beast, but a controlled beast. Right? So it's like being dangerous, learning dangerous. And I know that we talked about it. You say it so eloquently. So I'll let you being dangerous, but
so here's the thing, Jimmy. You don't learn to be a monster. You are. We all are. There is no human on the planet without the animal side of violence. You're already a monster. You're already a monster.
Yeah.
The reason that you have to learn about it is because then that becomes your thing rather than it controlling you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a switch on the back of all of our heads where the switch is up. Hey, Jimmy, it's Chance. How are you? The switch is down. I'm going to rip your throat out and suck your eyeballs out of your face,
Yeah.
Most people can't reach their switch, but everybody else can. Anybody else can flip that switch and turn you into a monster. One of the reasons martial arts is so valuable is it gives you control of that switch and moves it out of reach of other people.
Right. Yeah.
So that homicidal maniac, which is already in you, you can't get it out of you. Right. It's part of who we are. Yep. We're lovers and we're parents and we're scholars and we're artists and we are bloodthirsty maniacs. We're all of those things, Jimmy, already, right? Education and knowledge, that's why knowledge is power. Yeah. So the more I learn about all the myriad of ways that I can hurt somebody, the more control I have over doing it or not. Yeah. Okay? That's where the control comes from. Yeah. Right? So, Jordan Peterson has this great concept. He goes, we mistake weakness for goodness. If you're weak, I'm weak, therefore I'm good. No, you can't be good. Yeah. Not if you're weak. You can't be good because it takes strength to be good. It's very hard to be good. Yeah. And that ambivalence, that struggle between the capability of violence and the simultaneous control of that capability, that's where the strength that is necessary for goodness comes from. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to teach a child how to lie. No! You don't have to teach a child. For instance, these parents who I'm friends with as well is like, oh, well, I don't know where my child got it. We don't watch any violence. Watch any violence? Oh no, you don't learn that. It's like, in you. But they grabbed the pen and made it to a gun, stick, and now they're sword fighting. Yep. Or you're right. It's there. You don't have to teach that, but you have to teach the boundaries and the control. And that's how you know that you have control over it, is the more learning and training you have. Well, you got a book here, right? The Art of War. Yep. Well, there's only one way to, and this goes back to our previous point, the only way to win a battle is to avoid fighting it. Right. And you can't really avoid it. If their finger is on the switch on the back of your brain, you're not avoiding anything. Yeah. You're an animal. Right. So that's the importance of course, we're martial artists. Sure. That's why we always preach martial artists. Let me ask this because this was brought up. So our friend Blas, he sent us a video, and we got some of the questions that I wanted to talk about and topics was what came from that. And in that video that he shared, by the way, thank you very much, sir. Can't wait to have you on the podcast. Blas is amazing. I can't wait to have him. I'm looking forward to that one. A couple of weeks, by the way. Profiling. Right?
or being aware of your surroundings.
So profiling and being aware of your surroundings aren't the same thing,
Okay,
in my opinion.
go on.
Okay. So I think profiling is incredibly dangerous. Because here's the thing. Have you ever met somebody or seen somebody and thought they don't like you?
No, I think everyone loves me.
Okay. Jimmy is my favorite narcissist. So somebody will walk in. Let's say, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's say Nikki, who's my rock star program director, walks in and she's got a look on her face.
Like,
okay, the visual cue of she's got to look like something's wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
My first thought is
something's wrong.
Yeah, at me.
Oh, at you.
She's mad at me, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have to be careful with profiling. Is that we see that visual cue and then we write a story that is probably fiction based on the way their outside appearance is. So the intent behind profiling, I don't think is wrong, but I don't think it needs to be the individual. I think it needs to be the scenario, the situation.
I think profiling is a tool, but a tool that can be used in a harmful way.
Well, because you're wrong, you can be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, you could be wrong, right? But so what I teach my teenagers, my teenage daughter and son, is to keep your head on the swivel, right? If I see a group of guys, I don't know, maybe they're drinking, maybe it's late at night or whatever, I am going to do my best to avoid that area, right? Maybe walk on the other side of the street, maybe do something because of just the scenario.
So let me give you. Okay, so one of my very. Do you remember before Steven Seagal's movies got really, really bad? Right.
Like what? Okay, go on.
Okay, after the first couple.
Okay.
There's just right.
All right.
Okay. So, but I think one of those turning points was, like Hard to Kill was good. I really liked that. I liked the one where he went after Inosanto with the pool cues, with his screen the stick to, But there was one with these Jamaicans. Okay. Where he fought a guy named like No Face or something with machetes or something. And that was the point? Yeah. So here's the thing. One of my best friends in the entire world is a guy, it's a black man with very long dreads who looks really close to one of the Jamaican gangsters that he was killing. And these were all very bad people. They were all like mafia. They were all like Jamaican mafia. Right? However, this person, although obviously a martial artist, is a doctorate level, his PhD.
Yeah.
Right? Very high level professional, married man, beautiful family. Yeah. But if I were to profile him based on appearance, I would be so wrong.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to see 5 good old boys in trucks with gun racks on the back, hanging out with a 12-pack at a small town gas station, all sitting ribbing each other, I should profile that situation. I should probably avoid interacting with a group of people drinking outside of a gas station.
Right.
That has nothing to do with how the individual appears.
But the scenario.
It's the scenario that I need to profile. And what part of town I'm in.
Right, yeah, because there are places, so when I was, of course, in Europe, and I've even heard like, oh, I want to go to Mexico, I've heard people, oh, it's dangerous. Dude, there's some places in Dallas.
Stop 6, dude, South Dallas, are you kidding me?
Or there's places at Fort Worth
that
I won't go to.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
They'll shoot you for sneezing.
Right.
So it's 20 minutes from here.
but it's the scenario.
Yes, profile the scenario.
Right? I like that. I like it. Instead of saying profiling, I like profile the scenario because as I tell Journey and Talon, and this is why, and I know that we've talked about this before, the whole man bear, right? Like, wait, would you rather be
Not man bear pig, which is I think the Al Gore thing. Yeah, the man bear pig from South Park.
Not,
It's very different. No. Yeah, no, the man bear pig. No. So the man versus bear thing.
Man versus bear thing. That's all over social media now, right? Is just for what I tell Journey and Talon, and it doesn't just go for the females of it, but I say, don't if someone grabs you, you need to do everything that you possibly can to fight that off. Because once you're in a car or van,
location A, location B,
that is, I mean, you're pretty much, I don't want to say done for, but the chances just skyrocketed that you're pretty much done.
So this is what guys don't get about the bear man thing. This is why men are so up in arms. There's a group I'm part of on Facebook where it says man invents fictional scenario and then gets angry about it. There's you can imagine the gold that's in that group,
man,
right?
Beautiful.
So here's the reason that men don't understand this, and it's the question that I ask at the beginning of all women's self-defense seminars that I do.
Okay.
12 and up, I say, ladies, raise your hand if you've ever been made to feel uncomfortable around a man, and 100% of the hands shoot up. Starting at 12, and I guarantee you, if I let younger than 12 in, those little girls would raise their hand if there weren't any men in the room, because then they'd be afraid. Okay?
Yeah.
So I would say, I don't know the statistics because I'm not a crime analyst, but I would say in almost all of the cases, it's not because he is a kidnapper or a murderer.
Right.
It's because he's a stupid, awkward, unaware man who doesn't know how he comes off.
You want to know what Mama Klaus says at times?
What?
That men have? Dumb sticks.
Yeah. But the thing is
where's that laughing track? Because no one's laughing at.
Yeah, that's
a dumb
great.
stick.
So here's the problem, Jimmy. No. So here's the problem, is that most men, in an effort to be, I don't know, charming or friendly or whatever, I think that they try to breach protocol too soon without the buy-in of the female.
For example?
Well, first of all, people aren't puppies. You don't get to touch people.
I agree.
You don't get to hug people.
Yeah.
You don't get to, you don't get to do that without the familiarity, and that has to come from her.
Right, yeah.
But every woman I know has had to put up with that crap their whole life.
Right.
So is it because men are more dangerous than bears? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I do think that many men operate from a position that because I don't have people tied up and locked in my basement and I don't hurt people, then you need to be fine with me.
Right.
Where, we in the information age, like, people are more and more and more aware of what does happen to people, what does happen to women. You don't think that's in the back of their mind with somebody they don't know very well?
Listen,
so your intuition is always looking out for you.
Right.
Okay. It might not be that he has a bag of lime and a shovel in his trunk, but it is based on a visual cue. Right. It is based on something real, and it is looking out for you. And I believe that the comfort level of familiarity and contact has to come from her.
Right.
Not because you think she should be okay with it.
Right. So here's something that, as we're discussing this for men as well, on the mats in martial arts, is that do not get your feelings hurt if a female does not want to spar or even in jiu-jitsu roll with you.
No, fine, get them hurt, but no.
Right, exactly. Like,
no.
You have to, listen, there are, if if a parent says, "Hey, you know what? I don't want you to roll with my child." Guess what? You're not rolling with the child.
Do you know what? Do you know what the number one? And there was a comedian that said this. Number one threat to women is men. Do you know what the number one threat to men is?
What's that?
Heart disease. Like we need to remember. Right. Like we need to remember what the statistics are. Right. You and I are not constantly around half the people on the planet that can physically overpower us and beat us up if they want. We don't know what that's like, Jimmy. And to have some empathy and some compassion for that, I mean, gee, don't be a child. Like, grow up and understand where they're coming from.
So we mentioned earlier, I mentioned that my blind teacher says I have a very pick-on-able face, right? Sometimes this doesn't, when he says, "Hey, Jimmy, go roll with," let's say, Nikki, or go roll with, another female, right? It's because, one, he knows that, one, I'm going to get beat up regardless. I mean, that's just life. I mean, kids, women, men, they all beat me up.
It's your lot in life.
Yeah, it's my lot in life. But there's also individuals that the teacher or the professor won't allow to roll with a woman or with a child because of either any number of reasons.
Sure.
Right? I think something that I have heard this from other ladies, and this is not to say that women aren't strong, because there are very strong women out there. But for me, what I do is I teach my son to be respectful in all. I think that we have lost some of that. In my opinion, I think that we have lost some of that. Like if Talon was here now and Nikki was getting into her car, you better believe Talon better be out there opening that car door. If not, then he's going to hear it from me.
Yeah.
He better help her if she's carrying something. He better go offer, "Can I carry that for you?" He better get his butt up if there's a seat on the bus. No matter what, that's because that is how I am training my son to view. Not that women are the weaker sex, because they're not, but it's a respectful thing to do. I think that we've lost that, and I think that we have kind of mixed that up in social media world. Like, "Oh, well, you saying I can't open the door?" No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that he's going to be a gentleman and he's going to open that door. It has nothing to do with your feeling. He's going to do it,
right? Because
that's the right thing to do.
And I've met women who feel insulted when I've opened the door for them. Okay. Yeah. Well, then I don't open the door for him. That's fine. Yeah. I was just trying to help anyway. Right. And if not opening the door is more helpful to you, I'll do that.
But I also teach my daughter the same thing, though.
Yep.
I teach her the same thing. I mean, elderly, whatever. I teach her to be respectful, whatever. So as we're winding this podcast down, I wanted to talk about one last subject about rhythm and balance. Right.
There is no balance.
Right. And that's what I kind of want to talk about. Is we talk about balance. Work-life balance and home life balance, and there is no balance. Right? Let's just get that out of the way now. You can debate me later on. That's fine with it. But nowhere in my studies of the word has I've ever seen anything about balance. Because anytime I try to balance something, it's always misbalanced anyway. But what I have found is rhythm. There is rhythm to life. There are changes in life. Seasons change. In fact, there was a high school senior that I saw today doing the Dads on Duty. She was talking about, graduation. Her life is changing. She's about to go into college. And there's a rhythm to life. And I think that we need to find that rhythm. I'm not saying work all the time, but there needs to be a rhythm of work, rest. Work, rest. Work, rest. There's a rhythm. Kind of like when we're fighting, right? Like, do you have a song in your head?
There's always a song in my head.
Always?
Always. It just changes. So, it's like shuffle. Listen. Listen, dude, I'm a ferret on espresso with the scan button just glued down on my brain.
That's where you are.
Like if you were in my head, you would be an insane person.
When you're zoning out when I'm talking on this podcast, that's what's going on. There's a song that you're just kind of listening to.
You want to know what it was just now? Okay.
What's that?
Because you brought up rhythm and balance.
Yeah.
Good. And while you were talking the entire time, because I didn't hear a word you just said, okay? This is the rhythm of the night. Whoa, whoa, oh yeah. and
Yeah.
to the beat of the rhythm of the night, dancing till the morning light. Forget it. We were rocking on with DeBarge. So yes, that's
beautiful.
happening all the time. So
Yeah.
what were you saying? You're right about
Oh,
rhythm and balance. Okay.
Because like in fighting,
Yeah.
right? We always say find the rhythm, find the rhythm.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
Like for me, I always have Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Playing in my head, don't worry.
Yeah.
Or stir it up. And,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
But I'm finding that rhythm when we're fighting.
So the balance that people are looking for is rhythm. Okay.
Right.
So what I mean by that is if you think about your life like a pie chart, divided into thirds. Okay. A third is sleep. A third is work, and a third is leisure. Okay? That is a healthy balance. And those thirds are never going to be equally divided. So think of a dowsing rod, okay? Which is just like a pendulum that kind of swings, okay?
Yeah.
The balance is that it just doesn't swing as far to one direction or the other. Right? It still swings. But the yaw and the pitch is not as extreme. That is balance, but there is no perfect balance because if nothing is moving, you're dead. Yeah. So think about that pendulum is moving just a little bit in each direction, and that is the rhythm of balance. Yeah. Whoa! Oh yeah!
That's been stuck in my head all day. Hey, I wanted to wrap this up though, mainly to the teenage girls out there, because I am raising a teenage girl as we speak. She, of course, has teenage girls friends, and maybe to the ladies out there that are listening to this too. There are 80. How many billion?
There are not 80 billion. There are 8 billion.
8 billion.
Yeah.
My math was a little off.
Right.
It's like 7.9 according to Google, but we'll round up to 8 billion people. There are 8 billion people in this world. Okay. If 99% of the world think that you're unattractive or don't want to be friends with you or whatever reason, that's 1% left, right?
Yeah.
I'm not very good at math, but that's still 80 million people who find you attractive or want to be your friend. I just want you to, like, you're beautiful, ladies. You're beautiful. Don't let anyone take that light and then say whatever else. 99%, even if 99% of the world don't think you're attractive, 1% does, that's still 80 million people. I'll take those odds.
But the thing is, man, physical beauty is so fleeting. It used to be so important to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
How desirable I was to the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Right? And then I realized how many friends of mine really, genuinely loved me.
Yeah.
And the way I looked had nothing to do with that.
Right.
Maybe I put too much emphasis on what I look like and not enough on how I behave.
Oh.
That is the beauty.
Absolutely it is.
Is the content of my character.
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
And look at how many beautiful, as we may say, Hollywood types get divorced.
Right.
Get broken up.
Yeah.
I mean, Taylor Swift made the whole life about breaking up and stuff, right? Isn't that a lot of her songs?
Who's Taylor Swift?
Right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even getting into this debate now. Thank you for spending episode 9 with us. Thank you so much. This is take 2. We appreciate you guys. To the individuals who sent me messages, look, we have a following.
Yeah, we do.
People were actually...
Jimmy has a following.
I don't have a following. We have a following. People were actually wondering where the
That's baffling to me that you guys want to hear any of this.
No.
It's baffling to Nikki, too.
Is
she
it?
and I are both very confused why you care at all. But...
And listen, my lovely bride, though, she's a subscriber, and she likes stuff, and she shares it.
She hasn't watched one episode.
She hasn't watched one episode of us at all. Why? She says, why would I want to listen to you on a podcast when I hear you all day. And by the way, if I hear you, I hear Chance.
Right. She didn't want to hear me either. Right.
Thanks for supporting us, guys. We'll be back next week, episode 10.
And I'd like to leave you with this. To the beat of the rhythm of the night, dancing till the morning light. Forget about the world is on your side. We can leave it all behind.